Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me, as always, over there in New York City, Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good, and I want you to know before we go any further in the show, because it's now like the most important position available.
Yeah.
I want you to know that Ty Hildenbrand, you are my number 4.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
My number 4, my true number 4.
Yeah. Speaking of true number 4s, we had a playoff announcement. We are recording a little bit later today because we needed to give the playoff selection committee time. We've been talking to them on and off saying, listen, guys, we want to record the show. What's the earliest you can do this thing?
Curbs.
They put out their playoff ranking around 12:30. And here are your matchups. Number 1, Clemson will be squaring off against number 4, drumroll please, Alabama. The Crimson Tide sneaks in ahead of Ohio State. It appears as if they will be about a 2.5, 3-point favorite in that rematch. The rematch in the
Sugar Bowl,
semifinals.
correct?
Yeah, in the Sugar Bowl, correct.
In New Orleans, yeah. That'll be great.
And then over in the Rose Bowl, we've got Georgia against Oklahoma. That is a 1-point line in favor of the Dogs. Also figures to be a good game. Kind of a bummer, I guess, if you're from Oklahoma or Georgia, that you don't have the proximity of the Sugar Bowl to go to. But nonetheless, the Rose Bowl, an iconic venue, a cool place to see a game. And 2 good ones here. I'm excited for these.
If you are a Georgia fan or an Oklahoma fan heading out to Pasadena, and I cannot recommend it enough because, I mean, the weather should be nice where you're from if you're from around those parts, but it'll be very nice, hopefully. It generally is pretty nice. In Pasadena, tweet me, tweet us, lots of taco and food recommendations for the greater Los Angeles area. Happy to help.
This, of course, means that Ohio State came in 5th. It means that Wisconsin came in number 6. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through all of the action here. Certainly a lot to dissect. We didn't even get to a lot of the coaching stuff on Wednesday because it didn't happen yet. A bunch of news breaking later in the week, yesterday, things that we'll talk about here as we progress through championship week in the college football world. But Dan, let's get rolling with our Week 14 reverbs. Have a listen.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Gus Malzahn. We beat the tiger crap out of them, didn't we?
Hey, Dan and Ty, this is Trista Gunnels calling from Athens, Georgia.
Hi, this is Dan from Minneapolis.
Hey, guys, this is Jeff from Breckenridge, Colorado.
This is the only Georgia fan in East Tennessee, and I've been drinking beer since about 10 this morning. I'm not at the game or anything. I'm just really nervous.
And I've just got one thing to say. Go!
I've waited my entire life to see Georgia have an opportunity to play for a national title, and it's incredible to witness that tonight.
Just want to send a sincere apology to all the Auburn fans that were around me in the stadium. I was loud and I was obnoxious.
I think Auburn should have gotten a sideline penalty for Gus Malzahn's frowning lower lip hanging over the sideline into the playing area. It just wasn't good for the game and should have been called.
Hi, guys. Dan, could I please get a dramatic reading of Auburn's drive chart? Thank you.
Punt, block field goal, punt, fumble, punt, downs.
And if neither of these championship games get any closer, I think I'm just going to spend the second half watching John Wick 2.
Sitting here watching the Ohio State-Wisconsin game. Can't figure out if I'm watching football or an episode of Home and Garden.
Hey, I was going to say something a bit clever, but my Buckeye just nutted all over some Badgers. And hey, stop that!
I just want to thank Alex Hornibrook for reminding me that no matter how many overthrows JT Barrett has, it could always be worse. Go Bucks.
Can I get a dude alert for the turf technician repairing the end zone turf in the Big Ten championship game, please?
USC is fun when they turn 2005 mode on.
Calling during the Stanford USC game here, right after the latest blown call from the
officiating crew on this glorious Pac-12 night. Scarlet wasn't down. Scarlet wasn't down.
Just calling to say, guess who just got murdered? The U is back home by 11 because they stink.
That's more than borderline erotic for this Sooner fan. Sooners are back to back to back. Big 12 champs, playoff bound. Boomer Sooner.
Just watched the UCF Memphis game. I've just got a quick question. Do those teams know that you can use 11 players to play defense?
Hey, Fresno, I hope you enjoyed that milk that you guys won from last week, because it seems like it didn't really help you out in the Mountain West Championship game. Go Broncos.
Don't let this championship weekend distract you from the fact that the Noles are finally completed the drive for 6. Also, everyone, please come check out the subreddit.
All right, Dan, there you go. A lot of Georgia fans calling in, people fired up to be part of this playoff. Let's start with the top dog, the Clemson Tigers. They were in the ACC championship game, and it was never close, was it?
No, not so much.
Never
got
close.
Real ugly, real quick.
The final was 38-3. It was an open question for a long time whether or not Miami would even score in this game, because Clemson did whatever it wanted on offense, and they did exactly what we said on Wednesday as far as defense goes. You want to stop the run, you want to keep Malik Rozier in the pocket, and that's what they did. Travis Homer had 40 yards. Malik Rozier couldn't really extend plays by scrambling the way he had in other big games against Virginia Tech, against Notre Dame. Puts more pressure on him as a passer, and that is how you get 14 of 29 passing for 110 yards and 2 interceptions, Dan.
It seemed pretty clear going into the game that Miami would need to not start quickly, but start decisively and confidently and semi-successfully. When Clemson is able to play loose, which they were after going up 14-0 pretty quickly, right? After the first quarter was 14-0.
Yeah.
You get a different kind of Clemson. The defense seems like it's flying around a little bit more. Offensively, Kelly Bryant looked more and more confident as the game went on. And Clemson in every single phase, and that includes turning the ball over, that, the skill talent was there. Kelly Bryant was fantastic. Travis Etienne, special teams and in the ground game, the all-purpose game was phenomenal. And Clemson appears to be much more so than Miami, and this is something we said about Miami prior to last night, at least, or prior to the Pitt game. Clemson's a big game team.
Yeah, big time.
And, maybe it's just that short week going to Syracuse, and it's no excuse. Syracuse beat them, and Clemson looked like garbage. But, when Clemson has time, when Clemson is focused, when they're relatively healthy, this is sort of it might be like an unstoppable juggernaut of sorts, just because of how not little the offense needs to do, but how convenient football becomes with that defense.
You ever see X-Men?
Not in a long time. I mean, I've seen the cartoon. I haven't seen a lot of the movies.
Jennifer Lawrence plays a character by the name of Mystique. Mystique is a shapeshifter, and Mystique can sort of take on the look and feel of pretty much anything or anyone it wants to. She wants to.
Right.
That's how I felt about Clemson's offense in this football game, because, there are so many different ways that they can beat you. And you're right, it gets more convenient when you've got a defense that's so good that can just alter an opponent's offense. But offensively for Clemson, Kelly Bryant looks so good throwing the ball. He only missed 6 passes all game. It's about as good as I've seen him look, about as good as I've seen them play as a team on offense. And that, to me, is what's really scary entering into this playoff. Now, it's going to be a tall order to go against Alabama, but if anybody in this field can beat Alabama, and I know Alabama lost to Auburn, we can have that discussion at some point a little bit later, but I feel really good about Clemson's chances here because they have so many weapons. It does seem like Kelly Bryant's getting better. All of that stuff, as you build towards the playoffs, is stuff that I think you and I need to take into account whenever we end up making predictions on these games.
Yeah, Miami is, an incredible season for the Canes. Certainly they don't have the depth of talent yet.
Right.
Or, I think they have like the number 1 incoming recruiting class, whatever. So it's pretty quickly improving. But what Clemson has right now, and especially when you look at the back half of their schedule, it was sort of quiet. They had the scare against NC State, but then the last 4 weeks, there was never flip to the Clemson game. It's close late against so-and-so pretty good opponent. They didn't have that the last month of the season, and they certainly did not have that, when you look at the teams on the field last night. So Clemson just going about its business year over year, getting deeper, getting better, getting more comfortable in the offensive and defensive systems. I think the coaching continuity has been enormous for Clemson, that just players know their responsibilities. And to your point about Alabama, who they obviously have in the Sugar Bowl in the first round, I think any of these three teams can beat Alabama.
Yeah, agreed.
But they happen to play Clemson first. And what did you say the spread was? A point or two?
2.5 is what I saw from $5.
Alabama being favored.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's easy to feel pretty good about Clemson with Deshaun Watson, and that's what feels like a forever ago talking point. But that's my early shocking preview. What will Kelly Bryant look like versus a very good, if healthy, defense? So it'll be fun. Great matchup.
They will be playing Alabama. Alabama didn't play a game yesterday, and that's part of the controversy. They got the nod.
I kept refreshing to see, Ty, what the Alabama score was yesterday.
Yeah, Alabama didn't play, but Ohio State did in the Big Ten Championship. This one was on at the same time as the Clemson-Miami game. And I would say maybe the most interesting game of the weekend for a variety of reasons, not just because it was more hotly contested inside the actual football game, but we had all sorts of weird factors that, to me, added interest.
Indeed. I think USC Stanford was pretty fun, but in terms of the tension at the end and the weird variables, I think the game of the weekend from a Power 5 championship perspective, yes.
First off, we had JT Barrett getting knee surgery earlier in the week, which doesn't seem healthy to be out there playing, right?
It seems unusual.
Yeah, it's weird.
I, admittedly can't speak to specifics. I've never had knee surgery. I've never tried to recover from minor knee surgery and then play high-level athletics. But it definitely seems unique. It definitely seems like JT Barrett is extraordinary at healing. I don't know. It's madness. But you know what? Good for him, because without having that surgery, Ty, we would not have had Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt salivating over the courage and grit and bravado.
What color was Gus's sport coat?
I could not pull it off, Ty.
It was an aggressive wardrobe. He also, look, I love Gus Johnson. I drafted Gus Johnson freakouts, and I believe I got a point for the week.
Sure.
You need to whenever he's calling a game. I want to find something in life that I am as passionate about as I am him saying the word J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins.
It's like he's doing his ha-ha, but right in the middle of the last name, J.K. Dobbins.
What was your comparison? Your John Miller?
Well, I texted you around the time, because at that point, J.K. Dobbins had a great game, right? He had 174 yards.
Oh, phenomenal.
And so Gus was saying his name every other breath. Mm-hmm. And I said, at this point, we need to start giving J.K. Dobbins from Gus Johnson the Miguel Tejada treatment that we used to give John Miller when we made that joke when he was still, calling games.
Carlos Beltran.
Right. The fake Spanish accent.
It sure was something, that game. It seemed like Ohio State was going to run away with it. They go up 21-7 early on in the second quarter, and doing so without a ton of complexity, it didn't seem like, right? They were busting big screens for huge plays and touchdowns, and they were getting the ball to the speed that Wisconsin couldn't quite keep up with. It seemed like limiting the mistakes until they didn't, until they kept it close by turning the ball over and completely shutting down their own passing game.
Yeah, I gotta believe somewhere in the deep, dark corners of Paul Christ's offensive workroom, he did not have written down on the whiteboard to have Alex Hornibrook throw it 40 times.
No. And the fact that it was still a game until the waning minute with...
I know, right? That's
really no running game. Yeah, turnovers, punts, no running game. Alex Hornibrook throwing it many dozens of times, and it's still being a few seconds and maybe 3 less feet of air on that throw to Troy Fumagalli, at the end of the game, into getting real spicy there. I just, watching the second half of this game, and I will lead with this. Wisconsin's really, really good on defense.
So good.
Jim Leonard, for being as inexperienced and young as he is, it's his first year calling the plays for the Badger defense. What an angry, flying, fundamentally sound unit that, man, really fun to watch if you like defense, especially versus the pass. But on that same token, can we get, like, I don't know if, I mean, Chip Kelly can't do it anymore, but I don't know who, like, an unemployed coach would be that has a reputation for creative offense. Can we just get these coaching staffs in a room with a whiteboard and be like, so I know what you're thinking. Just run it straight at the line. I get it. No, I hear you. But what if we like maybe do an offsite, maybe, go to a resort and really open the mind.
Do like a trust fall, some sort of team building activity. Yeah.
Just like, all right, here's where the seam is. Here's like an interesting way to do a screen to tie it to this kind of concept. These teams just in the passing game, it was so brutal to watch. And I understand there were good defenses on the field, but the lack of adjustment and creativity was pretty mind-numbing, Ty.
Yeah, Hornibrook going deep is not something that left me with the warm fuzzies here. And you're right. Both defenses did come to play. Wisconsin's is very good. They forced 3 turnovers. They gave the offense a chance in this game, which is saying something because the offense did barely enough to give itself a chance. Mm-hmm. So it just incredible to me that the offense would be as lousy as it was for most of the game and still have a shot to win on a final drive. But on the Ohio State front, now Ohio State doesn't get into the college football playoff, and it's a lively debate around that. Who's the true number 4 team? What impressed me about Ohio State defensively in this game is they went in knowing full well what Wisconsin wanted to do. They shut down Jonathan Taylor tailback. He had like 2.7 per carry. And they knew that if they put more pressure on Hornibrook, they would win the game. Still, It was closer. It was closer than I think you and I both expected. But I think the defense did an awesome job just going in there and stylistically blowing up whatever it was Wisconsin wanted to do. They get the win. They don't get the final playoff slot. I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it was a toss-up for me, really. And that's sort of a straddling the fence cop-out kind of thing. But when it comes down to Ohio State's very specific resume and results, whatever, and Alabama and what they have done, I personally, in terms of this is going to come as a huge shock after what I've said all season long, I don't want to watch JT Barrett against a really good defense again. No. I'm good. And when I say that, I mean Ohio State's game plan and execution thereof. So I watched Jalen Hurts look very similar against Auburn, so I'm not particularly crazy about that. So it's fine. I'm fine either way. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly what the committee is thinking. Anybody that does, I think, is a little bit fraudulent in their logic. But if Ohio State wins this game, Ty, 35-17,
they're in.
You really do think it's the non-separation factor?
I think there is a recency component to a lot of what the committee does. And, it didn't work in Penn State's favor a year ago. Maybe perhaps the committee is spooked a bit by teams with 2 losses. I don't know. Sure. I can't put myself in that room. But if they had gone out there, and won like 42-7, some sort of resounding victory, I have no doubt that they would have been in.
Do you think that scheduling Oklahoma, and I'm not talking about the loss specifically, because that's what helped propel them last year to the playoff, the fact that they went to Norman and won. But do you think scheduling such a top tier program like Oklahoma, and we have all these home and homes and neutral site games coming up, do you think that's going to get a further look? The fact that if Ohio State had scheduled a Power 5 team but not Oklahoma, might they be in? Like if they scheduled Virginia. And
right.
If they scheduled
just a
Boston
bowl team,
College,
right? Not Oklahoma.
A bowl team. Yeah. Somebody 6-6, 7-5, who they were expected to win and comfortably beat. If they beat Iowa State, if they beat Kansas State, if they beat UCLA, are they in? It's certainly not as attractive. And I imagine TV networks and conferences want that high level home and home.
Here's the thing though. If you're Ohio State and you're on your current trajectory, it doesn't do a whole lot for you to schedule these monster out of conference games. It just doesn't, because you could run the table in the Big Ten. You could win the title like they did this year, and you're still going to go to the playoff. If you're a team like, I don't know, let's say NC State, maybe a bad example, but you need to try and build a resume. You don't have years worth of tradition to build upon, name recognition, a built-in fan base that's going to attract people to not only go to your game, but watch your game and maybe the committee to put you through, hypothetically speaking.
It's like a subconscious bias thing. Yeah.
Yeah. In that case, I think you need to work a little harder to try and pad the resume wherever you can.
Yeah, I think that's relatively fair, and credit to the teams that actually do schedule up. I know a lot of people have thoughts about Alabama and Florida State. I give, measured credit for Alabama scheduling that game. Florida State was not number 3 at the time. They were not the third best team at the time. We didn't know who the best teams were.
That was a preseason ranking.
Right. It was a preseason ranking, and it certainly did not appear that Florida State had the resolve to figure out a way to be successful once a quarterback and a number of players got hurt, obviously, but Florida State has recruited and is deeper than most programs. So it certainly was not a good sign for Florida State or for Alabama when everything transpired the way it did. But I do think we're still going to keep seeing these games because they're too attractive to TV. They're too attractive to conferences. And in the case of last year with Ohio State, they help give you a crazy boost, whereas schools who do not have those type of those cojones, they're lacking. They're left behind.
The other thing that we need to mention about this Ohio State-Wisconsin game, did you see what happened in the fourth quarter?
I think I know what you're referring to because there were a lot of plays and coaching moves, whatever. I assume you're talking about on a Wisconsin touchdown, the carpet ripping up, sending pellets into the sky like a high school science fair volcano.
Oh, it was the best. This was the best subplot all weekend. So if you didn't watch, I don't think it was on a touchdown. It was down by the goal line.
It was a goal line stand of sorts.
Yeah, a lot of beef pushing back, right? On both sides of the line, two teams just duking it out there in the trenches. And so much so that the end zone ripped. The field turf actually ripped. And as you said, as you so adequately described, just
I'll take it.
A plume of that little like granular rubber filling that they use to fill in the AstroTurf, the field turf that they lay down in these stadiums. And there was a huge exposed seam that was clearly not safe to play on. So, and I give Fox all due credit for the way they covered it.
Yeah.
Because not only were they talking about it, not only did they not go to commercial break as they were trying to repair this, I was dying. They had the spider cam above.
Of course.
They had to get all up in there to show you the pit crew that came out to try and take care of this. First, the refs tried it. They're trying to feel like they got a couple guys there. They're trying to fill in this like filling and like do the best job they could with it. Then they get the official guy out there with the filler, the big bucket of the filler. And so then he's dropping it in. Then he's like trying to massage it in. You see the spirit fingers thing he was doing?
I did. He was spreading. He was massaging. He was really going after that field.
Then the second guy comes in with the garden rake. That's when I tweeted out the big comb from Spaceballs.
Of course.
Took about 15 minutes to get the thing resolved. I could have watched that guy fix the field all night. Quite honestly, that was the best part of the game. But not something that you're accustomed to seeing. And I thought Fox, for as goofy as Fox can be sometimes, from top to bottom, even though it was a moment of levity there, from Joel Klatt describing why it popped up.
He was ready.
Yeah, he was ready for that. To the network just staying with the coverage and having fun with it. I thought they did a good job.
They did a fantastic job. They cut to Dean Blandino to try to explain it, which is always phenomenal. No, when there was that much time being spent on it, that's when my mind started wandering. It's Lucas Oil, right? Lucas Oil Field. Yeah. So I'm imagining somebody on the sideline, like the turf crew or the grounds, whatever, thinking in the way that I don't remember the exact measurement in Star Wars. You're like the what's it called? I'm the worst, Ty. The Death Star has like a vulnerability, right? That's tiny.
Sure.
And just seeing the defensive line right on top of the one vulnerability on Lucas Oil Field, and just the turf crew getting so nervous and going, no, please, no. and then seeing everything literally come apart at the seams. And then while I was waiting, I played out a definitely fictional situation in my head in which the son of the owner of Lucas Oil Field, who of course is Lucas Oil, sent out his son Braden Oil, like fix the field, Braden. Look what you did. And then Braden had to come out with his pellets. That's how I watch college football. That is my truth.
So there is your first playoff matchup again.
Yes.
As you said, it's Clemson, it's Alabama, it's the Sugar Bowl. It's a cool venue for this game. Two teams in the South, and Alabama's looking to be about a 2.5, 3-point favorite. Somewhere in that range. We'll see where it settles down at. That means that we've got another national semifinal, and the first team in that game is the Oklahoma Sooners. The Oklahoma Sooners played their game, their Big 12 championship game, earlier in the day on Saturday, and they won resoundingly, 41-17 over TCU, a team that they had beaten earlier in the year. This wasn't so much a case of TCU doing anything wrong, Dan. If you watched the game, it was, here and there, but it was more just, I think, a lot of right by Oklahoma.
That's right.
Over very quickly. TCU did commit a pretty big blunder early on their first play from scrimmage, a fumble, and Oklahoma scoop and score. It's 10-0 right out of the chute. Then TCU had this uphill battle, and they could never get to the top of that hill. The problem with trying to stop Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield is that Oklahoma's got a really good offensive line. And if you can get through that line, then you got to worry about him scrambling. Or if he's not scrambling, at a minimum, he can just bounce around the pocket. He can extend plays because he's shifty back there. Now, I'm not even talking about weapons that have developed out wide. Rodney Anderson, other elements that Lincoln Riley has added into the mix here, but just so many different ways they can beat you on offense. It's gotten better, which is what you want to see if you're an Oklahoma fan from start to finish this season. And right now, again, I'll say it, they're my favorite to win it all. They are playing with such confidence. They are playing with such momentum. It doesn't surprise me at all to see a score like this. Does it surprise you?
Oh, no, because it's almost identical to the last time they played.
Sure.
Who do you think is, and we'll talk about this game for the second in a moment, but who do you think is best built to beat Oklahoma if you believe Oklahoma is your favorite?
Ooh. Well, what's the Achilles heel of Oklahoma? The Achilles heel is probably their defense.
Yeah, and the fact that you can throw on them a bit. We saw Oklahoma State drop, into the 50s, 40s, 50s?
Sure.
So if somebody gets hot enough to look like Mason Rudolph through the air, that can become troublesome. Or Kyle Kempt, excuse me.
Sure. Part of what makes this playoff set so interesting is that I think any of the teams can beat any of the others. The Georgia matchup, to me, I think is troublesome for Oklahoma. Now, I'm probably still going to pick Oklahoma, but it's troublesome because stylistically, Georgia can do something to Oklahoma that not a lot of teams have tried in the Big 12. This is a power rushing team with a really good front seven. So they're going to be able to shift the line of scrimmage. They're going to be able to control the clock, you would assume, with Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. And Lord knows if they get the kind of efficiency they got yesterday from Jake Fromm, that would give them a whole other component that they could attack Oklahoma with. I think Georgia will be fine on offense. The question is, to what degree can Oklahoma maintain its current momentum against a really good front seven? How much will Georgia be able to affect the line of scrimmage and take Baker Mayfield out of his comfort zone? So, I don't know if there's any one team that I'd favor over the others, but Georgia's going to be favored over Oklahoma, and I can absolutely come up with a couple easy ways off the top of my head. If this happens, then Georgia ends up winning the football game.
Yeah, Georgia's played a couple of good quarterbacks and didn't look good against Jarrett Stidham. And then yesterday, after starting out a little slow against the passing game of Auburn, really clamped down and just saw wherever he was going constantly. They kept tabs on him and really limited what he was able to do. Baker Mayfield is a decidedly better version of every quarterback that Georgia has played. And so I think that's probably right at this point. Georgia to me looks very, very strong, and stylistically, yes, I think you're right, because Alabama has spread the ball out. They have a dual threat quarterback now and doing all sorts of newer, more modern things on offense. And certainly Clemson has been extremely successful doing something like that. But Georgia is not, yeah, you're right, built like other Big 12 teams are, and Oklahoma's defense was built to stop that style. So curious to see, extremely curious.
A contrast of styles in the Rose Bowl game.
Oh, that'll be great.
Between Oklahoma and Georgia. Oklahoma won, again, the Big 12 championship 41-17. And as we've mentioned, their playoff counterpart will be the Georgia Bulldogs, who won in Atlanta 28-7 over Auburn. It started off as a defensive slugfest here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a defensive slugfest for about 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, Auburn wore down. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a crock-potting. I think it was Georgia. Do you have it?
Do you want it?
Give it.
Honey, it's ready.
Little bit of a Bulldog crock-potting.
Yeah, I mean, to go 10-7, 13-7, 21-7, 28-7, that's that slow tenderization process, Ty.
Yeah.
And what happens when the meat gets tenderized? You feast.
Yeah.
What did DeAndre Swift do along the edge? Oh, he feasted.
He feasted.
He absolutely feasted. Yeah, I think you're right. And Georgia's offense, for a good chunk of this game, struggled to sustain drives. They were not good on third down, even though they came into the game strong on third down. But the fact of the matter is, they get a couple of chunk plays. Nick Chubb did a great job wearing down the Auburn defensive front, which has been excellent all season long. Jarrett Stidham became a little bit more confused, a little more tentative, was constantly on the run.
What did I tell you about Stidham? I told you, look at his completion percentage. Go to like college football stats or on anywhere you can find game-by-game stats of Jarrett Stidham. And again, this isn't unique to Auburn by any stretch, but it tells you. His completion percentage tells you how Auburn's going to do. And in this game, he was 50%, 16 of 32, which for a lot of quarterback, I would love that if Brandon Wimbush had 50%. We're not talking about Wimbush here. We're talking about a better thrower. And for Stidham, who's been around 60, 70% in a lot of his games, to only go 50%, and then on top of it, to not really have Kerryon Johnson at full speed, it was tough to come back from that.
How many of these championship games changed? I mean, obviously, Ohio State, jumping Wisconsin, but the rest of these games, did we need to play them? I think we considered Clemson to be clearly better than Miami.
Yeah.
Georgia is, probably the better option, having one loss versus 2, although, Auburn's big win over Alabama. I get that. And Oklahoma didn't really need to prove anything after doing what they did against TCU. And in a year where it seems more and more, after last year, now this year, where conference championships aren't super duper heavily considered, with Alabama this year, Ohio State last year being in, it's interesting. It's just interesting how, they're just meaning a little bit less. Instead of the SEC meaning more, it just means less.
Yeah, let's look at Georgia for a second. And we talked about stylistically how they're very different from Oklahoma. Jake Fromm was borderline incredible in this football game. He missed only 6 passes, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns. The numbers aren't eye-popping, but they don't have to be. He made some really big throws. Yet again, he does it without turning the ball over. And I'm watching this game, and I'm, just kind of drifting in and out of paying full attention to what's going on, especially later in the game when it started to get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of reminded me a little bit of some of those teams that Kirby Smart was a part of over at Alabama.
Sure.
Just grind it out on the ground, win with defense, have a game manager in there who can be really effective, won't turn the ball over, will hit a couple key throws, will throw to Terry Godwin when Auburn can't cover. Like, stuff like that. Just the way it added up, to me, it felt a lot like that old school way that Alabama used to go about its business when Kirby was over there.
Yeah, and a big reason for that, I think, and this is sort of like a solid verbal tip of the cap, the offensive line was a question to a lot of people coming into this season. And to their credit, Sam Pittman, who has been a very good SEC offensive line coach for many years now, they're nasty, Ty. They're nasty.
Dan, do we know what Auburn did drive by drive in this football game?
Ty, I'm glad you asked, because if you have a track I could play with. Hey, it started out great. Touchdown, real early. Punt, fumble, punt, missed field goal, punt, fumble, punt, downs.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
One of those days for the Auburn Tigers. A hell of a run to close out the year. I think that goes without saying, but just didn't have enough gas here. Looked to me like they wore down 28-7 is your final. They do not win the SEC championship. And Georgia, moving on here.
Do you think, because after the end of this game, it went from, wow, good for Georgia, first SEC championship since I think 2005. What a story in year 2, and the recruiting is good, and Jake Fromm, a true freshman quarterback, coming in and looking like a seasoned veteran, blah, 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 all these running backs. Roquan Smith, by the way. Just ridiculous sideline to sideline. And then it immediately went, hey, is Gus Malzahn going to Arkansas? Hey, is that really a thing? And part of me believes that just like in the SEC West in 2017, 2013, 2012, whatever, just recent SEC West history, it just kills you, man. It just disrupts your insides, and you just need a change of scenery every so often. I know Gus is from Arkansas, but it's been rumored for sort of the back half of the season, depending on what happened in the Iron Bowl. It'd be weird, right?
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Gus Malzahn takes off for Arkansas at this point, looking as good, and really good staff, and found a quarterback of the future who's only going to get better. Weird, but yeah, that's football.
Dan, I'm going to see you on Friday.
Yes,
for
you
the
are.
Heisman Trophy. Will you be wearing your custom fitted dress shirt from Proper Cloth?
God willing, Ty. God willing.
Ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier with Proper Cloth. At propercloth.com, you can easily create a custom shirt size in mere seconds. Seconds, Dan. You got to answer 10 questions. 10 questions, that's it.
I'm ready.
You can choose from 20 collar styles, 10 cuff styles, 500 fabric styles, from classic to business, to completely customize your shirt and get everything that you want on it. The team over there, they work with the best fabric producers from around the world. They only buy fabrics that meet their high quality expectations. Each one of their shirts goes through extensive quality control testing, so you're only getting the absolute best quality and craftsmanship. Best of all, they guarantee a perfect fit. So if you decide you want to go through with this and order the best shirt you've ever worn, you get it. It doesn't fit, they'll remake it for free. No big deal.
Damn.
They're made completely custom for you. They start at just $80. Stop wearing shirts that do not fit. Start looking your best with a custom fitted option from Proper Cloth. Go to propercloth.com/solid today. Enter the gift code SOLID. You will save $20 on your first shirt. That's propercloth.com/solid, Dan.
If you're one of those types of people who like sprinkling in just mildly pretentious things in your everyday conversations,
no.
When somebody asks you where you got that sharp looking shirt that seems to fit so perfectly, you can be like, oh, obviously it's custom. So I can't really, it's Proper Cloth, but you can't get this specific cut because this is just the Dan cut, and that's what happens. So you get to do that.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is how you've been sleeping lately. I know last night wasn't a good night for you because you were up all night with heartburn. But
right.
How have you been sleeping?
That was my fault.
That was your fault. That was not the fault of your delightful Casper mattress, right?
Thanks, giant chicken Parmesan sandwich. No, the Casper mattress actually was the thing that counterbalanced me the best. I was comfortable. It kept cool as every part of me got hot.
Yeah.
So the Casper mattress was a godsend, Ty.
Casper is a sleep brand. They've been with us for a long time. They continue to revolutionize their line of products. They create an exceptionally comfortable sleep experience one night at a time. They've got 3 mattress models now: the original Casper, the Wave, and the Essential.
We have the original Casper,
I believe we have the original. Yeah, check them out.
Yeah.
Casper mattresses are perfectly designed to soothe and cradle your natural geometry, Dan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, natural geometry, Ty. I am stealing that.
They offer breathable design that helps you sleep cool, regulates your body temperature all throughout the night. It's delivered right to your door in a small, how did they do that, sized box with free shipping and returns in the United States and Canada. The best part is that you can be sure of your purchase because you get 100 nights risk-free to sleep on it. Really try it out. If you don't like it, yeah, you can just send it back. No big deal. You spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. It should be comfortable, Dan. Look, we've talked about Casper a bunch of times. The unboxing was cool. The difference between this mattress and the old one that used to give me a backache is significant. We're both sleeping a lot better on our separate Casper mattresses, to say the least. We would encourage everyone out there who's listening. This is something we've tried. We would endorse it. We are endorsing it. Start sleeping ahead of the curve on your own. Get $50 towards any mattress purchase. That's Casper.com/verbal. Offer code verbal. You will save $50 on your mattress purchase. Terms and conditions do apply.
Have we ever slept on the same bed mattress on the road for whatever reason? Have we been given a king room instead of 2 queen? Anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
We did it that one time, only that one time in Phoenix when I was on death's door. Remember, I was really sick. We were in the house with all the SB Nation people.
That's right. Yeah, yes. Not a Casper mattress.
Was not a Casper mattress. Was not a good night's sleep. But that was the only time, I think.
Yeah. Are you still a snoring buzzsaw? Does the solid wife Kate
I don't
deal
snore.
with that?
I only snore if I have a lot to drink.
Okay, so I'm recalling at the national championship when you did have a lot to drink.
Yeah, that's correct. Right.
Oh my God. It was... Yeah, I mean, you talk about the line of scrimmage and the grunts you hear then. That was basically all centered in Ty's nose.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah, only if I have a lot to drink. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Okay.
Let's go to the Pac-12 championship game, shall we?
Sure.
This one happened on Friday night. Only one member of the broadcasting duo really had the foresight to predict that USC would win this game 31-28, and that would be yours truly.
Mr. Pac-12, Ty Hildenbrandt, gets it again.
Sort of like a Cliff's Notes version of USC's entire season. If you didn't watch a single game before this one, it sort of told you everything you needed to know about USC in 2017. The only thing missing was the interception by Sam Darnold. Everything else, in terms of what USC can do, what they might do, it was all there for your wanting eyes in this football game.
1 pick in the last 3 weeks, 2 in the last 5 or something like that. It hasn't been the worst, Ty. Sam Darnold, more consistently throwing it to players wearing the same jersey color. Yes, USC was very good against Stanford. They didn't close out a couple drives, but otherwise, offensively, they were quite efficient. Darnold was very good. You saw the crazy pass down the seam as he was being tackled when the drive started out from the 1 after the goal line stand, which was pretty incredible and helped to set up the win. Ronald Jones was great. Just a workhorse. Didn't bust anything huge, but he is an unbelievable talent. Stephen Carr had the fumble, but I think he is going to be fantastic moving forward. Michael Pittman jumped out as a big go-to receiver for USC once again. And the Sam Darnold experience is, when I was watching this game, I kept thinking about, the car insurance, I think it's car insurance, the commercial where there's a teenage girl and an older guy, and the teenage girl gets her first car and is exclaiming things, and the older guy has his car stolen or it's up on blocks, and one of them goes, "Oh my God," and the other one goes, "Oh my God." That is the Sam Darnold experience.
Yeah.
Where you're saying similar things that mean completely different things based on the throw. That is what USC fans, that is their lives. And it's mostly good, but woof, he puts them first read isn't there, take off, figure something out while he's outside. So yeah, it was a really nice game from Darnold.
Would that be considered a homophone then? The Sam Darnold experience is a homophone.
Yes. The Sam Darnold experience is 100% a homophone. And it should be said, Stanford was in striking distance and went for a huge 4th down conversion that they didn't get, but There was it wasn't Bryce Love because he was coming in and out. I think it was Cameron Scarlett,
right?
Where they were on the goal line. They left Nwosu unblocked, which, hey, that's a decision. And Scarlett got tackled, but appeared to just be tackled on top of somebody else and sort of scooted into the end zone, but they called the play dead. A little fishy.
That was weird.
It reminded me, I had like a helicopter flashback to, I think it was Stephon Taylor at Notre Dame. Was that who it was?
It might have been, yeah. Oh, God, don't bring that up again. Speaking of fishy and weird, did you see that Lynn Swann gave Clay Helton a vote of confidence after the game?
Weird.
What was that? Does this mean that Clay Helton was somewhat in jeopardy, or was Swanee being nice? Like, what the heck was that all about?
I don't know. I think he was just sort of injecting himself into the moment. Clay Helton is fine. They won the Pac-12. They got screwed over by the conference scheduling committee, whatever, going to Wazoo on a Friday night after another road game for a short week and having no bye week all season long. So, he wasn't in any trouble. I mean, ESPN a little bit over the top kept referring to USC as like, will they make the Final Four?
Yeah.
During the
just trying to pump it up a little bit. They need ratings for that final reveal show.
I guess. But no, this was a very fun game. It came down light. KJ Costello, even though for about 3/4 was somewhat pedestrian, had a couple of big drives late, making big throws downfield to Arcega Whiteside. Caden Smith was full on excellent in this game for Stanford, and as difficult as USC's offense can be at times, I thought Stanford's defense had a couple of nice plays. So a really nice final 9 games for Stanford after the usual start, but USC is your champion, the first Pac-12 South champ.
Standard issue Stanford, and congratulations to USC. They fall outside the top 4, won't be in the playoff, but another good season for Clay
11-2.
11-2, not bad. All right. Some other action around college football. I only mention Florida State and Louisiana Monroe as a conduit to talk about Jimbo Fisher. We all knew Florida State was going to beat Funro, 42-10, whatever. They get to a bowl. But the scuttlebutt around Tallahassee was whether or not Jimbo was going to be there long term. There were rumors, persistent rumors, for many weeks now that Jimbo had an interest in starting over and going on over to Texas A&M if and when Kevin Sumlin was relieved of duty. That, of course, happened, and the drumbeat grew louder with each passing hour over the course of the week, to the point where eventually Jimbo Fisher, sort of forced to resign on Friday, did not coach the football game against Louisiana Monroe. He did so in order to sign a 10-year contract, which by my estimation is worth approximately Texas with a dollar sign, Dan. $75 million. It's a record in the college football world for the total value of a coaching contract. This is a seismic shift in coaching talent away from the ACC and now over to an SEC West, which who knows what happens with Gus Malzahn? Who knows if he goes to Arkansas, if Auburn has somebody else next year? There is a lot of coaching talent now in that SEC West moving forward.
Yeah, $75 million is a lot of money, fully guaranteed, 10 years. I believe there was some, this is unconfirmed as of the time we're recording this, some talk about Texas A&M helping with the transition with Jimbo Fisher's young son and the treatment he needs for the ailment he's suffering from. So hopefully that is true. And there is a more human element to this than we realize. It's a lot of money, and I'm curious to see what type of expectations Jimbo Fisher is saddled with because of that amount. And I know Texas A&M was going to pay whatever it took. This was going to be a blank check situation for whoever they targeted, and Jimbo Fisher's unhappiness and the bridges that seem to be falling apart, like you see in the movies, the cross, like the rapids where like each little wooden plank is falling into the water. Those were eroding in Tallahassee. So it's possible that both Jimbo Fisher wanted to go to College Station and Texas A&M wanted Jimbo Fisher, and Jimbo Fisher perhaps overplayed his hand in trying to get some of the things he wanted to get in Tallahassee. I know they wanted a football-only facility, which would have affected other things, and a commitment that, is not cheap to get such a thing. So I think some of the relationships were reported to be frayed with administration types at Florida State. So listen, I hope it's what Jimbo Fisher wanted. It appears it's what Texas A&M wanted. Hopefully that means more fun, creative offense, and maybe with more pace than he played with at Florida State this past year in College Station. Hope it's a net positive.
That means that there is an opening at Florida State.
Correct.
For a long time, it looked like Willie Taggart was the number one target. I still think he is the number one target. Mm-hmm. He did tweet out last night how much he's looking forward to the bowl game and recruiting and all the other stuff that happens this time of year. Now, if you go back in time, Willie Taggart has tweeted out similar things before leaving other stops. It's not like a new thing for him to do that. He still could leave. It might be savage for poor saps like you who cheer day in and day out for the Oregon football program. But he seems to be a target. He's from Florida. We can understand why they might want to go after him. If not him, the two most popular names that come up next are Kevin Sumlin, currently unemployed, and Justin Fuente, currently employed up there in Blacksburg for Virginia Tech. It's going to be real interesting to see what they do. They haven't had a real coaching search in 40 years, Dan.
They have not, and that is, testament to the continuity that they've had in Tallahassee. I don't know if I've heard the Sumlin drumbeat as much as Fuente, and even maybe James Franklin, who's now down Joe Moorhead as an excellent offensive coordinator there in Penn State territory. Where are we talking about? State College? That's where Penn State still is?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure. And certainly, a dogged recruiter, but is from the state of Pennsylvania. And Willie Taggart, by all accounts, is target number one for Florida State. I don't know what's going to happen. We're recording this mid-afternoon on Sunday. I anticipate this will all sound moot by the time most people listen, that a decision will probably be made within the next 12, 18, 24 hours. But who knows? I haven't heard anything specific and confirmed. So all I will say is this. 2 coaching searches in 2 years for a program that has recently struggled to recruit a quarterback, that will have 2 years of commitments and players committed to previous coaches, could potentially, depending on who they hire and how well a new coach, a potential new coach in Eugene does in retaining a good chunk of a very promising recruiting class, it could set a program back. This is like, it's kind of firebomby. It could set Oregon back about 3 years, which is not anything that I'm super happy about. But from a big picture now national college football angle, it happens. I would hope that athletes, football players can have increased flexibility in the way that coaches do. It just seems not the fairest way of going about your business when coach can just, this would be, I think my math is right. Yeah. It would be his 4th head coaching job in 6 years. That's Todd Graham. That's leaving a major program after a year for another one is Lane Kiffin. Maybe it's Lane Kiffin with a bigger smile and more bumper stickers, but it's Lane Kiffin.
Bigger smile and more bumper stickers. Very good.
Yeah, more hashtags. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens as a result of Jimbo Fisher. But if you're A&M, I'd imagine you're thrilled to get a coach of his magnitude over there. He's a real good football coach. He's in a recruiting hotbed, just as he was in Florida, but he's instantly going to compete out there in the SEC West. They've got talent. He's going to make them better. And it'll be interesting to see how it alters the power balance now on that side of the conference. Also, in the great state of Florida, we had the American Championship game, which went to double overtime.
Ooh,
lot of action in this game. UCF does complete their perfect season. Over 1,400 total yards, 117 points, 6 turnovers in this football game. UCF wins 62-55. The big news coming out of this game was not so much UCF remaining undefeated, but instead Scott Frost leaving to take over at Nebraska. His contract is, I know, shocker.
Oh my God, breaking news.
Scott Frost leaving to the tune of $35 million. That's quite a contract. I believe this was announced during the game. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so Brett McMurphy, I think, was the first one to break the story. Our pal, formerly of ESPN, go check out his Facebook page. He's breaking stories as we speak. So he has not slowed down the hustle. He tweeted out that they had agreed to, I think he first tweeted out that Scott Frost was getting cold feet, which is funny because he was playing, he was coaching a game. But then it was finalized 7 years, $35 million. So it was obviously agreed to before the game at some point. But yes, it was tweeted out, and then the announcers made reference to it, and Todd McShay asked him a question that I thought Scott Frost, sort of artfully dodged and said, I'm just going to go hang out with my team, because going 12-0 is pretty special, and the American Conference is a good conference. There's a lot of good teams there. But yes, it happened during the game. ESPN referred to him as our own, which, woof, yeah. Unfortunate, given that he was laid off unceremoniously recently. But man, it's, Nebraska got their guy. And before we go into it, Ty, what did you think of this actual game?
It's crazy.
It was wonderful.
Crazy football game. UCF has played 2 awesome games now in back-to-back weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was the type of game where going back and forth, and then Memphis would take the lead and then get an interception. You're like, well, I guess that's, and then, oh, nope, they just fumbled. Yep. Oh, no, they just threw a pick. Like, oh, nope, UCF just threw a pick. So it was a fun back and forth. It was video game numbers. Predictably, quarterbacks, Anthony Miller, put up a huge number as receiver for Memphis. It was a fun TV show, Ty.
Scott Frost leaving to go to Nebraska. You're right. They got their guy. If you're a Nebraska fan, you're elated. This is a great move for you. Really good move. They're paying him a lot, but a good move. Good move. Good for them.
So former Oregon wide receivers coach and offensive coordinator, has done really good things at UCF. Yet to be seen what he will do as a head coach in a Power 5 setting. But if the offense looks like it does,
good move.
And I don't know what Nebraska's future quarterback recruiting is like, but it's either about to get better or the people lined up are about to get very excited.
And a couple other championships to make note of. The Mountain West goes to Boise State. 17-14, they won over Fresno. They won the title. We joked about there being an aggregate total here. They technically would not have won on aggregate, but 17-14, a rematch from a week ago. Boise wins the Mountain West. We had the MAC going to our boy Logan Woodside and Toledo, 45-28.
I think a backdoor cover here.
And then finally, we had the Dynacraft Conference USA Football Championship going to Florida Atlantic in the Fighting Lane Kiffins. They win 41-17 over North Texas. Big game for Devin Singletary. Jason Driscoll is the quarterback for Florida Atlantic, in case you weren't paying attention. Yes, he's related to Jeff. And I am interested to see what happens with Lane Kiffin longer term as a college football coach, because if there's an opening at Auburn, could that be a possibility? A fun one?
Oh, my God. I'm going to go ahead and say no. Not that it shouldn't be, because that would be wonderful for us. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends what happens with the local jobs right now. UCF, and now I've seen Florida State allegedly, reportedly, has contacted Charlie Strong's people, who of course did pretty good things at USF. I don't know. I don't know what his tenure is like there. Your over-under was 5 jobs, and he's on 4?
I think my over-under was, so let's see. All right, he had the job with the Raiders. That was his first pro job. His first, head coaching job. Then he went to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went to USC.
Then the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Right. Not a lot of people know about that, but yeah.
Got fired from USC on the tarmac. And since then, he's been working his way back. Now he's got FAU. FAU, that's 4. I believe my over-under was 5.5 way back when.
Okay.
So what that would assume is that he gets a big job now, and then there's one other job at some point in his future.
He could still get a medium job than big job. There still is a climb between FAU and some bigger programs.
5.5 remains the over-under.
Wow. Okay. Are you taking the over-under? How are you feeling? After an enormous year.
You got to go over. It was a great year for him.
I think that's right. People want offense. Got to give the people what they want.
Congratulations to the Fighting Lane Kiffins and the Owls.
Owls!
41-17 was your final score here. Conference USA Football Championship.
And hey, Ty, New Mexico State.
Yeah,
Bowl eligible.
Cool.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Shout out
sorry.
to everybody in Las Cruces. Can rest easy. We have mentioned the big win over South Alabama that got them to 6-6. Big night from Tyler Rogers. Hell yeah, New Mexico State. We like you.
Congratulations to everybody on their conference championships. The bowl games are currently in the process of being announced.
Do you want to do breaking news, Ty?
We have breaking bowl news. Beep, 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 beep. What do we got? What's being reported?
So we know the matchups in the playoff, Oklahoma, Georgia, Clemson, Alabama. Your very own Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on LSU in the Citrus Bowl.
Okay.
Rematch of the Music City.
That's correct. From a couple years ago.
I believe the apex of the Zaire.
That would be the only apex of the Zaire. That's correct.
Miami, Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl. So Hornibrook, Rozier. Maybe no interceptions, but we can't say for certain. Sunday. Your New Mexico State Aggies taking on the Utah State Aggies in the Arizona Bowl.
The double Aggie Bowl.
I'm going chronologically backwards at this moment. Alamo Bowl, Stanford, TCU. Very different styles. Should be pretty good.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully KJ Costello sets a nice tone for next year for Stanford, and TCU has a bunch of speed that could be on display. Michigan State, Wazoo in the Holiday Bowl.
Oh, man, give me Wazoo all day, every day in that one.
Really?
I'm out. I'm still out of Michigan State.
If you are a State fan and will be in the cold in December, can I recommend going to San Diego?
Yes.
Because it is wonderful. Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech in the Camping World Bowl. And fun fact, I believe Justin Fuente played quarterback for Oklahoma State.
Okay, there you go.
So there's that. It appears Texas will be taking on somebody in the Texas Bowl, which
shocker.
Isn't it nice to have your own bowl? Fresno State, Houston making their way to Hawaii. Nobody says that. Hawaii. Army is in the Armed Forces Bowl. Ohio UAB in the Bahamas Bowl. FAU Temple in the Boca Raton Bowl. Big travel day.
Double Owls again.
Double Owls. And FAU is Boca and this game is Boca.
Sure.
Troy, North Texas. I ride for the Mean Green, but I like the Trojans some too. In New Orleans, in the New Orleans Bowl. Grambling, North Carolina A&T, of course, in the Celebration Bowl. And this isn't official yet, but sources McMurphy said it, and I've seen it come across my timeline in a couple of places. Oregon, Boise State in the Las Vegas Bowl.
Hey, a blast from the past for you.
If you'll remember Oregon, Boise State and the LeGarrette Blount, Byron Hout situation, 2009.
That's right.
It's payback, and I don't know if somebody is going to be coaching Oregon. I do know. So apparently, I saw this on Twitter that weekend. So that's Sunday the 16th. Is apparently what Willie Taggart and the Oregon staff have been planning for as like the biggest recruiting weekend of the season. And now, because you have to assume, I mean, other than the 16th, the Pac-12 didn't have a tie-in game until later on into the December 20s or something. And now, woof, that's not great for the future of Oregon recruiting. So yeah, Vegas Bowl could be fun. Any other bowls that you're seeing, Ty?
No, not yet. So we're recording this a little bit before the games are formally announced. When we get to the actual matchups, we will make sure that we tweet out the link to our college football confidence bowl pool. And the way this works is you pick the winner. Don't got to worry about the point spread, thankfully. You pick the winner, and then you rank the games according to your level of confidence in that particular result coming to fruition. We do it every year. We will send some links out as soon as that game becomes available. We're going to do it again. We have a ton of fun doing it. So stay tuned to the Twitter, stay tuned to the Facebook, stay tuned to all of our channels. We'll make sure that gets out so you have a chance to play along, compete for some fabulous prizes. The other thing that I will point out here towards the latter half of the show, Dan and I have booked our travel for Atlanta. We are going to Atlanta, come hell or high water. And we are doing a live show. We do have a contract in hand that we are currently examining and will hopefully sign at some point in the near future. As soon as we do, as soon as we can make it official, we'll let you know the wheres and the whens, but it will be January 6th. So if you plan on being in Atlanta, if you live there, maybe if you're going to travel there, depending on if your team is playing in the championship game, please do let us know. Please do stay tuned to our Twitter and Facebook, and again, all the usual channels.
Tickets this week. We promise. We promise. We promise.
Yeah, we're going to get tickets out there as soon as we can and make sure that everyone who wants to come has a chance to come. It'll be limited. It'll be a tight squeeze, I think. Demand seems like it's going to be there for our biggest show to date, but stay tuned. More is coming in very short order.
Yeah. It appears Washington has made a New Year's Six game, so cool good for the Huskies. 10-2. Yeah.
All right.
Anything else you got? I thought it was a great year for us, Ty, if I don't say so myself.
I thought it was a very fast-moving year.
It went quickly.
Yeah, for us in terms of what we do. It's a bit of a grind to put together 2 shows a week, not only previewing, but recapping everything that goes on. And it always surprises me, and this is, year in and year out, how quickly it goes. This year feels like it went quicker than most. There weren't many points during the season that I felt like outright quitting, which is usually a staple for me during the football season. And believe it or not, it's not always related to how Notre Dame is doing. It's just like an energy thing.
Yeah, right around week 10, I needed, I went to sleep one night at 8:30. I was like, I'm going to need a couple extra hours. I need a reboot here after a week 10 preview or something. So yeah, hit my wall, got past the wall. I have more fun doing this than anything I do. So this is the greatest.
Week 10, I think, did it for me too. I may have had a minor freak out at week 10 as well. That's usually the glass ceiling there. But alas, here we are. We are through the woods on the college football regular season and conference championship week. The plan is still to go twice a week. This is what we do all throughout the month of December. We'll have some different content. We will talk about bowl games. We'll give you our picks for the bowls. And we're going to try and build to what is certain to be a really fun college football postseason, starting with the playoffs. Again, your matchups are number 1, Clemson, number 4, Alabama, number 2, Oklahoma, number 3, Georgia. And we will build from there.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand, we will catch you all on Wednesday. Stay solid.
Peace.